We'll start with the next letter, which is letter number 5. Is that correct? Yeah, I think so.
I love you, chapter 5. Knowledge that is in notebooks in our shelves and our money now in the hands of others, both are useless. When the time comes for their use, neither that knowledge nor that wealth will be available. Beloved children, Jaya Jaya Ganga Hara Hara, Namaskaram. We studied the lower love, Sneha, in some of its different expressions and found them all unsatisfactory in driving us away from our inner sorrows onto the amphitheater of joy and satisfaction. The Upanishads, the Gita, and the Puranas not only indicate in their silent suggestions, but thunder forth the roaring fact that the higher love, prema bhakti, can free us from all our sense of separateness and the consequent fears and sorrows of our inner experience of bleak loneliness. What then is this higher love, prema bhakti? The emotion is the same in both the higher and the lower kinds of love. But when we direct our love towards a higher, a more inspiring ideal, our minds expand, our faculties broaden, our vision deepens, and our efficiency multiplies. Then it is prema. When this prema is directed towards the Lord, the divine essence in man, it is called bhakti. When the same emotion of love goes towards a sense object, or generally towards the external objects of pleasure, things or beings, it slowly shells us into a life of tensions and anxieties, into a prison of sorrows and excitements, pangs and sobs. Then love degrades itself to be of the lower type, sneha. The prema type has been glorified in all theistic, religious, and great philosophies of the world. Here we give love to him and expect nothing in return. A true premi wants nothing back from him. The very fulfillment of devotion is in the joy of devotion experienced by the devotee. It asks for nothing. Throats choked with emotion, hearts full of love, tears of joy trickling down their faces. Devotees dance in their ecstasy of love for their Lord. And as the whole universe is to them nothing but the Lord's own form divine, to the true prema bhaktas, everything in the universe is sacred, divine, an object of their deep love and total reverence. Here the lover is active and his love is dynamic. He is not waiting to be loved by others. He is not a beggar at the gates of the temple of love. His dynamic love floods forth from his heart towards all, and in its irresistible, all-smashing onward dash, it shatters all the walls around others, storms into their hearts, and therein seeks and discovers a blissful fusion of oneness. In such dynamic and therefore apparently aggressive love fusion, The lover ennobles the beloved and yet retains his own individuality intact. In such a blessed love relationship, the two become one, and still neither dominates the other, nor is anyone rendered a victim of the other. Love is active, according to Hinduism. Be careful. Here, the meaning of the term active is more significant than what we usually understand. It is a conscious, willful dashing on to love rather than an unconscious, accidental falling into love. It is an aggressively consistent passion to give than a meekly persistent hope to receive. True loving is not a passive taking, but a dynamic giving. This idea of giving is often dreaded by all. They misunderstand it as a giving up of something, a painful renouncing, a state of being deprived of everything pleasant and sweet. But in our culture, it is glorified as tyaga, relinquishment. Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita defines tyaga as the giving up of all anxiety to enjoy the fruit of actions. To give love is therefore to love everyone without expecting any results, any gains, any profits, but demanding of life your privilege to love all. Love, when it is true and full, unconditional and joyful, is its own reward. Love is a fulfillment in itself. Very few realize this. None dare to live it in life. Only those, the special few, who have grown up a little in their inward vision and so evolved slightly in their spiritual growth, can feel this way and readily discover the heroism to love, to give love to all creatures. All are but Narayana in manifestation. Then what else can we give to the world but love? Some of us love only if we are also loved in return. That is, we will give love in repayment for the love received. This is a commercial attitude, a mere shopkeeping temperament. Here, the demand is subtly for receiving more love than the quantity given. I will give only when I receive is the expression of our mental weakness. The sun gives and demands nothing. The earth, the moon, the rains, the spring, the flowers, the rivers, everywhere in nature, among animals and plants, everywhere the universal rhythm is to give lovingly and not to demand love from others. The former, to give love, is true freedom. The latter, to demand love, is pure slavery. It is the privilege of man to love. It is the dignity of the devotee to love as his creatures. It is the beauty of life that we have this faculty in us to love. We have to cultivate and enrich it in our heart. A man of commercial temperament in loving others expects them to love him back. If he does not receive love, he feels extremely unhappy, terribly disappointed, severely crushed. All of you must have felt this. You must have watched this around you. Hereafter, be alert and be on the lookout for this folly. When you see its play in others, observe how they make themselves unhappy by it. Whenever such a thought rises in you, blast it up immediately. Repeat it once in yourself. I am not a beggar for others' love. I have not come into this world to beg for love. I am here to distribute, to donate, to spread, to shower, to squander love on all others. I am here to flood the world around me with my irresistible love, like Sri Krishna, Sri Ramachandra, the Rishis, Sri Buddha, Sri Narayana Guru, and others. Nip the wrong thought in its bud. Grow to be my children, each a dynamic lover of the world, marching out to give love and not looking out for receiving love. Those who are ready to give love to others only in return for love received feel cheated if they do not get sufficient return for the love they have already given. This is meaningless. All cannot give love. Very few are rich in love in themselves. How can they give who have none in themselves? But you are a Balvihar member, a Chinmaya child. You must develop this capacity to love and learn to flood life with your love by giving love, asking for nothing in return, expecting nothing, wanting nothing. Serve all. Service of others is the expression of love. Service is the outer expression of the love in your inner heart. See how your father, mother, and others serve you because they love you. We will learn to love all people and animals and plants, for all are Lord Jagadeshwara himself. Don't feel cheated if others do not give you love. The Lord himself serves us all every moment, even when we don't love him in return. Let us be godlike in our love for others, always and in all ways. Swami Chinmayananda, Uttakarshi, 5th July, 1968.
Okay. So I think the theme of this chapter we've more or less covered, right? The idea of our sense of bartering with love. The I will give you if you give me, the sense of agreement. We've also spoken about lower love in the last two classes a fair bit. So this idea of giving without wanting in return. So firstly, we must remember that we're not going to be able to do it overnight. There has to be a build-up of our ability to do it. And the examples given in the chapter itself is nature. Right? The sun gives, and it doesn't really look for any kind of acknowledgement or praise or I mean, we do praise, we do value the sun, but the sun doesn't really look for it. And I know all things in nature what's the word? Well, they're not sentient beings, right? So trees give, Rivers give, the earth gives, everything in nature gives, and it just keeps giving. So I think here, what's beautiful for us to be able to understand is, why does the tree give its fruit, its shade, its oxygen? It's because it's its nature to give. Why does the fire give heat? Actually, fire is not thinking I should give heat. It's the nature of fire, and so it gives heat. Just, and same with the sun. Nature is warmth, and so it gives heat. Nature is light, and so it gives effulgence. And water gives by nourishing the earth, nourishing ourselves. But again, water is not thinking, I hope the person drinks me because then I can nourish their body. Nature of water is to give, or to nourish, or to quench, or to enliven. And so it does. So the idea here is that all things in nature, it's nature to give. What is nature? It gives. So actually, water's nature is sapidity, but in its sapidity, it gives. Air's nature is to purify or to move, and in its purifying and giving, it gives. Fire's nature is to be warm. In its being warm, it gives. And so the principle is that all things in creation follow their nature. And in following their nature, they give. So how do I give? By being true to my nature. My nature will give. Just like the sun's nature. The sun's actually not thinking to do. It's just being effulgent. In being effulgent, it gives. The tree is also not thinking, oh, what's my purpose? What should I be doing? The tree just fulfills its purpose by growing, by spreading its branches, by flowering and then fruiting. And in its nature of doing what it's meant to be doing, it gives. So when we are true to our nature, we will give. So which nature is that? Firstly, we'll all have our nature of our swadharma, our particular personality, or our particular talent, our particular interest, our particular skill set. And so we will give, like we all play a role. Now, whether it be in the family, and just in terms of the personality dynamics of the family, the age we have in the family, or we serve a purpose, right? So I know growing up, I had a brother, I have a brother, have a sister. And because I grew up with a brother, understood men so much better. Their quirks, their sense of humor, their, I'm sure my brother didn't think that was his purpose. He was just being himself. But by him being himself, I got insight into boys are so weird as a young kid, right? That's what you think. But in him being who he was and totally being himself, it served a purpose. I mean, it served many, many purposes. The family dynamics was his personality working with our personality working with, and then the mood of the family and the togetherness of the family is each one's contributing to it. We're not thinking, oh, I need to, make the family more lively. I need to make the family more balanced. I need to make the family more cohesive. We're not thinking that, but each member of the family, and in most families, somebody does just bring balance into the family because of their personality. And somebody does bring a little bit more masti into the family because of their personality. And so each one being who they are, in their being who they are, we're giving. We're giving of our nature, our uniqueness, our and then when we are true to who we are, and this doesn't mean I'm doing anything in particular, right? I'm just I find that when we are true to who we are, we're comfortable with who we are. And we're not trying to be something different. We're not feeling bad about who we are. We're not. This is where that whole self-love in the Western world philosophy comes in. I don't know if I've mentioned this before. In Vedic tradition, self-love doesn't feature. Why? Why doesn't self-love feature? Isn't it incredibly important? Well, not in the Vedic tradition. Because in the Vedic tradition, you are Brahman. Brahman is all loving, and all loving includes you. Like, where are you separate from all loving? So they didn't need to be a separate self-love and then loving other people. It was like just all inclusive. Yeah, don't forget, you love other people, you love the plants, you love the animals, you love the sky, you love the grass, you love everything. And yourself is included. In all of creation, yourself is included. It's like, whereas somehow we lost that, right? Even within the subcontinent of India today, we've lost that. Yeah. So we meant to, we want to be kind and patient and compassionate to everyone else, and then we exclude ourselves from the entirety of creation, which makes no sense. Right? Because how can it be complete without one piece missing? Yeah. And I'm in it. I mean, I'm being nice to other people, so obviously I'm part of the creation. And so, firstly, I am Brahman, self-love's included. Because there's actually, I am Brahman, there's only me. Like, there's no one else to love. So, like, it's only me. So, like, take self-love to a whole new level. But that me is all of creation. And I think this is key. I am all of creation. So again, I don't need to love myself separately. In loving creation, I am loving myself. In loving other people, I am loving myself because I am all of creation. And then secondly, within the Vedic culture, of course, we're not thinking I am Brahman. Most unfortunately, we are deluded fools, and we are thinking I am a deluded fool. In whichever description of delusion we then identify with. I'm a deluded fool as a whatever role I'm playing, or whatever gender I am, or whatever occupation I am practicing. Okay, so now why doesn't self-love feature? Well, in the Vedic tradition, there's this complete understanding that everyone plays their part. And it was so simple. Why do I sweep the street? Because the street needs to be swept. But why do I sweep the street? Because the street needs to be swept. And why is this person, somebody else? Why am I a doctor and then constantly people are sick and so they're always bugging my life to help them? Because people get sick and we need doctors. But why me? I never get a holiday. No, people just keep, even one person gets better and the next person gets sick. Yeah. Like the person who sweeps the street, they get to go home, put their feet up. I can't. On my way home, somebody catches me, my throat has been a bit sore. I go to party and they'll say, I wanted you to see I have this little mark here. Like then that doesn't feature. Why am I a doctor? Because people get sick and we need healers. It wasn't about me. I'm not sure if I'm making this clear. It was about it has to get done. There are children, we need teachers. So you teach. People's hair grow too long, we need to cut it. So you cut. It wasn't about this, like today we've made it about finding passion and finding, it wasn't like that. It was, there is a need, I fulfill the need. And in doing so, we're giving, whichever one it is we're doing, sweeping street, cutting hair, administering medicine, teaching. Every single occupation is giving in some way or the other. Yeah. Every single position in the work fits into the puzzle to make everything work, right? So do I need to love myself? Why wouldn't you? Like, every bit is needed. So the need to love myself, it's redundant. It's like the street needs sweeping, sweep. Love doesn't feature. Yeah. It features in how I sweep, not in who I am. But now we've changed our thinking. Now, if that's my job, then I am considered lower or higher, or somebody else sweeps better than me, and so I'm not as good. And that wasn't there in those days. Right? Maybe it was, but it wasn't the predominant thought. The predominant thought was something needs to be done, we do it. Whereas today, the predominant thought is a sense of what should I be doing? Or rather, what can I do to make me feel better? What can I do that will give me happiness? Yeah. The predominant thought is not, it needs to be done, I do it. It's what will make me happy, then I do that, and then I assess how happy I am. I didn't get as happy from this, so now I'll not do this. And so we're chasing happiness. Where? In the things we're doing and the people we're meeting. And so actions get valued as per the amount of happiness they give us. People get valued as per the amount of happiness they give us. Happiness is not in the world outside, and so we're not getting enough of it. And then I feel unfulfilled. And then somewhere in there, comparing and emptiness, and then blaming, and then this negative dialogue got created of, I'm not good enough. And now because this negative dialogue got created of I'm not good enough, we had to introduce positive dialogue of self-love, which is very important in today's world. I was just trying to explain why it didn't exist in Vedic period. Okay? So when I am my nature, I'm fine with me. That doesn't mean I don't try to improve, but there's a comfort. This is me. There's an acceptance of, this is me. There's just the way a tree would feel, I'm a tree. I don't think the tree feels particularly better than other trees or less than. It's just being who it is. And so that's when we just being who we are, we give. We 100% give. Mhm. We'll give encouragement. We give comfort. We give advice. Little bits of, little small acts that we do that are helpful. We give knowledge. We'll give love. We will give love easily because it's our nature. So when I'm comfortable with myself, when I'm really being myself, love will be there. It's who I am, and I will give it. Because that's the nature of love. Like nobody's going to have blood and hold on to it. Like that's just not how love works. Yeah. Love's nature is to give. So whether I'm being my swabhava in terms of my personality, that nature is to give. And it will be in true to me, right? Like some people give in a very loud, expressive, obvious way. And somebody might be a little bit more, timid and gentle, and they might come up to you. And so this I'll see because people give me donations for the ashram, right? It will be so ceremonious and so grand. And then some people will like literally just as I'm about to leave, like, they do this, it's in their hand, and then they'll cup their hand with my hand. And then when they take it out, it's there. It's like, there'll be this very, but they still giving. And it's true to who they are. Yeah. It's not that one gave more than the other. Both gave, but both gave in the way that was true to who they are. And there's some people who are, Swamiji, you're my friend, and they'll give me a hug, and they'll, make some banter, and then thank you for coming and give. And others are so incredibly respectful and reverential, and that sense of quietness and stillness and devoutness, and they give. Both are giving. And they're giving in the way that is true to them. There's no comparison. I'm receiving. And it's beautiful because you're receiving in all these different ways, and you get to recognize, just like for me, we had a beautiful garden in Melbourne Ashram. And I don't know if I've mentioned this in this class series before, but Swamiji had done this thing where he had named all the plants after different members of the Yoga Kendra group. So they're all very different flowers. And each flower has such beauty and in such a different way. It's probably where my love from flowers started. And, like an orchid's shape and color and texture will be so different to a rose. And yet they both so beautiful, which will be completely different to a lily. And a lily is huge, it can fill up your whole face. Then you get these flowers that are tiny, 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 tiny. Each one is so different, each one is so beautiful. And actually, when you put the bouquet together, they all complement and they contrast each other and they bring out the beauty in each other. And that's all of us. When each one of us are true to who we are, that's what it's like. It's this beautiful bouquet of each personality being who they are. individually beautiful and collectively, that whole thing of that family dynamics with it working and balancing. And, sometimes the contrast helps us to see ourselves better and value things that we may not have in other people, and value the things we have in ourselves that we don't see so easily in other people. So the moment we are our nature, we give. And the thing I'm trying to say is we're giving what is our nature. I'm not giving a thing. I'm giving the beauty of me, of my personality, my quirks, my skills, my talents, I'm giving that. That's what I'm sharing. And then, of course, I do. And whatever I do, why am I doing it? Because it has to be done. Not necessarily because that's my nature. It's because it has to be done. Because work is not our nature. The sense of being is our nature. The sense of what we can give is our nature. So when we're being ourselves, we have no expectation from another person. But when I'm doing something and I'm giving something, I have an expectation from another person. But if I'm just being me, why would I expect anything from you? So the journey, this is why love is such a spiritual journey. Because we're not ourselves. And so we're not giving of ourselves. We haven't made peace with aspects of ourselves. We compare ourselves with other people. We feel either inadequate, or we feel misunderstood, or we feel flawed. So if I'm feeling flawed, how can I give? I won't give something that's flawed. If I feel inadequate, I won't give, because I won't give something that's inadequate. And so in the Western world, that saying is, until you love yourself, you can't love everyone else. But when we say love ourselves, we have to really understand what it is. Loving ourselves is not the same as when we love other people. Loving ourselves is this acceptance of our beauty in a way that we stop comparing. So if I go back to the flower example, me as an individual might like one flower better than the other, but the truth is they're both beautiful. Whether I like one better than the other is my personal preference, but both the flowers, which are very different, are both beautiful. So bring that to humans. Each individual will have its beauty, hers or his. And so there's just acceptance of it. Which is actually already there. And so it's quieting the noise that makes us compare and makes us feel we don't have. But unfortunately, because we think of it as something that we have to do rather than be, sometimes we miss it. Yeah. So what do I mean by that? Because I think loving myself is something that I have to do, then I'm trying to, somebody sent me an article the other day, self-love is not eating that chocolate chip cookie, not giving yourself a spa treatment. Self-love is not having a bubble bath. That is not self-love. Self-love is living your life so that you don't get drained, so you need the bubble bath. That's self-love. So when we think it's something that we have to do, right? Then we're never going to feel self-love, because self-love is just me accepting me, which is a being, not a doing. This is me only. Can you imagine the tree telling myself, would a tree thing have to think, I'm a beautiful tree, I am a worthwhile tree, I am grateful to be a tree. Why are we doing this? Why are we having to say, I'm a beautiful person, I am a worthwhile person, I have value, I have purpose? I'm not mocking it. I know everybody's journey and different techniques work for different people, but what I'm trying to say is actually we just have to drop the noise, right? So it's about undoing, because the more I do, the more I'm still feeling, and why. So again, we have to remember, I work because something's not done and it has to be done. Or I work because I want something and I don't have something. So there's void. I work to fulfill the void. There's no money in the bank. I work, put money in the bank. There's no relationship. I work, I create relationship. So when in the doing, I am affirming the lack of. Why am I working? There's no money. I have to work for money. Why am I working? There's no relationship. I have to work for relationship. So when we're doing self-love, then we affirming there's no love. So it becomes a little bit of I'm trying so hard to love myself, but the more I try, the more I fail, because it's not about doing. It's really about knowing. And what am I knowing? And this is the other thing. As a spiritual seeker, when we start to think I have to love myself, then it will conflict with, but ego, and I shouldn't be thinking about myself. I should be thinking about other people. And then it gets really messy. And so for me, what really helped was just go straight to I am Brahman. So for us who have understood this concept, even though it's just intellectually, I need to love myself. Yes, I am Brahman. I'm already love. So I am included in that love. Then you can come back down to personality layer. But I'm already love. I don't have to find it. I already am it. But as this personality, I'm so flawed. That's not my fault. It's body's fault, mind's fault, intellect's fault. Then we don't focus on it. We go back to, I am love. Body is flawed, mind is flawed, intellect is flawed. I am love. So love. Who? Anyone. Everyone. But literally anyone. But please, please, please make it a person. I have nothing against animals, but they're just not challenging. So they won't really make you pull up your love. When you love a person, you have to really up your game. So, because far too many people, the thing they choose to love is not a person. So Please love them also. Yeah. Please love pets and plants and all of that also. But please make sure one person is there. At least one. Yeah. So then how to deal with the flaws in me? I don't have to deal with them. Love will deal with them. I have to focus on loving. And the more I focus on loving, which is the very core of my being, I find ways to heal the wounds and to, what's the word? Polish the rough edges of my personality. I'll find like all these Disney movies where the beast suddenly becomes polite. Why? Because he loves. What's that Despicable Me? Despicable Me? That was Disney also? That guy also, right? He was such a cruel guy. And then these three children come into his life. And then by the end of it, he was like patting the baby. Like such a carouse guy who went around like the villain or thing. By the end of it, patting the baby. Those rough edges we find a way to. I know I'm using Disney movies, which are unrealistic, but it happens in life too. I'm sure you've seen it. This personality, which is so strict, and then grandkid comes along and this person becomes so, like, when did they become so sweet? They're still not sweet to me, but look how sweet they are to the grandkid. Love will find a way to polish the rough bits of our personality, which we don't like. These were the things that we didn't like about ourselves. But when we try to fix them, then we just don't like them more. And we just become so aware of how we have these things we don't like in ourselves. We really do have to bypass and go to the very core of our being, which is love, and work outwards. Kind of let love overflow into all the yucky bits and make it beautiful. Like, I know most of us have seen sunset, but if you've ever watched sunrise, the thing that makes sunrise more beautiful than sunset is that you can't see the beauty of things. Everything's dark, right? It's just shadows and vague shapes. And then slowly the sun starts rising and you start to see more distinct shapes. And you start to see bits and pieces of color. And then the sun rises even higher and you start to see forms, distinct colors. And then the sun gets to that certain point in the horizon where the light reflects on each object. And then not only do you see that color of the object, you see it bathed in light, and it's so beautiful. Everything was dark, shadowy, patchy. And then bathed in light, that thing which I looked dark and patchy and possibly even sinister, now suddenly looks so beautiful. It's spectacular what light does. It completely transforms this world. You know, when children are scared of the dark, we go into their room and they'll have these cute things everywhere, soft toys and paintings on the wall. And then they're scared of these things at night in the dark because they don't know what they are. There's some big thing in front of my bed. And then you switch on the light. It's your teddy bear. Oh, my teddy bear. And then they go and hug it. But you were scared of it 2 minutes ago. Yeah. The same thing with ourselves. We're looking at ourselves in darkness of ignorance. We're thinking we're these personality layers and we're finding so many flaws and we're finding so much heartache. And then we get so upset and we just have to go, really, please bypass it all. Go straight to I am Brahman. And let the love of Brahman bathe us with its light until we can see the beauty that's actually there. And when we see beauty bathed in Brahman, it's not more beautiful or less beautiful, or it's just beautiful. It doesn't have to be beautiful. It's not waiting to be beautiful. It's just beautiful. So, self-love. Why were we talking about self-love? I can't remember. Because expecting others to love me. When I'm really myself, self-love, in Western terminology concept. In Vedic tradition, just following my dharma, being true to my dharma, then there's no expecting from another person. Because I'm being me. And part of being me is giving, and part of being me is loving. And if you don't love me back, you don't. And sometimes each family member will have that one person, right? And somebody will go give them a hug and then they don't hug back. And then we'll say, Karus. Or Kanjus, or whatever. We'll make one comment. But it's, do we stop loving them? No. Will we not hug them next time? No, we'll still hug. So it's not that we don't know how to do it. We do it. There are definitely people we love who don't meet our expectations. They don't. We continue to love them. We learn to let go of the expectation. How did we do that? Do the same thing. Do the same thing with the next person. The thing about love is, the reason why it's so beautiful is we all already know how to do it. We all already doing it. We just have to make it grow. So logistically, how do I not expect? So logistically, we may expect. I think it's not about not expecting as much as it is about healing from not getting what we expect. What do I mean? So we've all had a lot of time in the last 2 years stuck in our homes. So you've watched lots of movies. When you start the movie, you hope it's going to be a good movie, right? All of us start the movie with the hope it's going to be a good one. How often is it really a good movie? Where when you finish it, you think, that was so good. How often does that happen? 1/3 of the time? Then 1/3 of the time it was okay. Not that great, but it was okay. And then 1/3 of the time, wasted my time. Should have rather done something else in that time, but you sat and you watched the whole movie. Did you have expectation? Yeah, you wanted a good movie. Will you not watch it the next movie when it's a bad one? We've all seen bad ones. We've seen really bekar ones. Does that in the least bit hinder us from watching the next movie? Does it prevent us from having expectation that the next movie will be good? But when it wasn't good, we got over it. Replace movie with people. Am I going to have expectation? Yeah. Are the expectations going to be met? Possibly. Some will be good. Some will be okay. Some will be really bad. Why will we have the expectation? It's our nature. Our nature is to look for beauty, see beauty, find beauty, want beauty, look for love, see, feel love, want love. Inbuilt things. We expect respect back to us. We expect kindness. Why? Because we have respect, we have kindness. We anticipate that they'll have it back for us. So, okay, it's going to be there, human nature, we expect. You don't get what you expect. Happens all the time. When we don't get what we expect, we shut down and we stop giving. But we didn't stop watching movies. Why? Because we still have hope next one will be good. Because we don't feel as vested in it. We don't feel rejected by the movie. I know we don't, but the skill is still the same. The ability to let it go, write it off to an experience and keep going. The skill is the same. I got hurt. Let it go. Next one might be good. Got hurt again. Let it go. It's not the expectation that's as much the problem as our hurt that we hold on to when we don't get what we expect. The skill we really need to learn is to offload hurt, reset, start again. How do we offload hurt and reset? Exactly what I've already said. I am Brahman. I really am, guys. I mean, you really are. You are Brahman. You just have to go back there. Just have to go back into that center of your being where you know you are divine. Just reconnect with the very core of your being. If it just a few moments of silence, just a few moments of satsang. It will heal. Hurt will heal. Hurt always heals. And then, of course, there's one person you will love that will never reject you, never disappoint you. So you go back there. You go back to the one love that you know you can count on. Love of Guru, love of God. Nobody loves me It's not true. It cannot be true. Every single person on this planet, somebody will love them. I'm not even saying God, huh? There'll be at least one other person. Only one person loves me. That's one person. That's enough. And then, yes, of course, the Lord loves us abundantly, infinitely, makes up for everyone else that doesn't. Lord is infinite. So if Lord loves us, that's infinite love. Who else I need? Actually, I don't need anything else. That's already infinite. So then I can come back out and deal with husband, wife, child. Because infinite love I have already. We train ourselves to go back, get to that part of us, that silence, right? This is why everyone's trying to learn to meditate, to find that silence where we can connect. But that, very often I see they find silence, but then they don't know what. Then what? Without the I am Brahman, you're just waiting there in silence. Yeah. It's not complete until we know I am love. Brahman is infinite love. I am Brahman. Infinite knowledge. I am Brahman. This is a limitation of atheistic practices, because the Vedantic tradition is twofold: negation of what we are not. I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not my likes and dislikes, I'm not my inner critic, I'm not my values, my personality. And then there's assertion, I am Brahman. And all these atheistic approaches will say, I am not. And they quieten the mind. Not this thought, watch the thought, leave the thought. And then there's no asserting. And if there is asserting, it's an asserting of a personality trait. Yeah. Whose love? The personality. It's still small. It doesn't expand. Brahman is not personality. Yeah. And so we're actually so incredibly blessed that the tradition is complete, full, and we have it. Right? So there's so many people seeking and they don't know where to go. So many people seeking. We already have it. We already know. You've already heard it how many times in this class itself? You are Brahman. Already that's a manifestation of the divine's love for us, that we have this knowledge. So we'll pause here. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukhabhat bhavet, asato ma sadgamaya, Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.